Ewan ko anong ginagawa nila
upang
dito.
matugunan ang
Daming
problema
biktima
sa
sa baha.
classroom shortage.
Usap-usap na lang din.
Ang masaklap sa nakaraang taong 2024, nasa 3,181 classrooms lamang ang nakumpleto. Sa makatuwid, at the rate we're going, we will need at least 50 years to hit our target. Now is the time to change the system and approach the problem differently in a manner that is more realistic, cost-efficient, and reliable. Ngayon pa lang, tinatalang 3,260 classrooms ang nagtamo ng iba't ibang antas ng pinsala dahil sa bagyong Tino. Ayon yan po sa DepEd. At noong linggo, dahil sa bugso ng bagyong Uwan, DepEd reported that in Bicol and Calabar Zone alone, 1,182 classrooms were partially damaged, 366 heavily damaged, and 261 were totally destroyed. Habang tayo ay dinadaanan ng mga bagyo buwan-buwan, patuloy din nadadagdagan ang datos sa classroom shortage. Kung hindi tayo gumalaw ng mabilis, maaaring hindi makapag-aral na maayos sa isang taon ang karamihan sa ating learners. In response to this situation, it is noteworthy to highlight Section 5, Paragraph D of the proposed measure. Schools located in high-risk or disaster-prone areas, such as those vulnerable to flooding, earthquake, or other similar calamities, and those reliant on temporary learning spaces, shall be prioritized under this program. Isa lamang ito sa mga magagandang probisyon ng panukalang batas na mabibigyan solusyon sa problema ng classrooms sa panahon ng kalamidad. I welcome the proposed partnerships between LGUs and NGOs upang agad matugunan ang problema ng classroom shortage under the able guidance and authority of the DepEd, na siya naman talagang nakakaalam kung ano talaga ang kailangan at naangkop sa mga mag-aaral ng iba't ibang lugar sa Pilipinas. Under this bill, DepEd minimum performance standards and specification will ensure that classrooms shall be built taking into serious consideration all relevant factors like topography, climate conditions of a given area, digital connectivity, and access to transportation, such that these projects are structurally sound, and given that schools are also being used as evacuation centers during calamities. At huli sa lahat, napapanahon na magkaroon ng funding ang cost ceilings sa mga gastusin sa construction ng classroom. Under this bill, funds for projects under this measure shall not be bloated and wasted. Tama na yung mga kumikita sa mga construction projects. Mr. President, education is the cornerstone of national development, social stability, and economic progress. Hence, it is imperative to strengthen our educational system by building these much-needed classrooms at the soonest possible time. Kaya, nagpapasalamat po ako kay Senator Bam Aquino, the chairperson of the Committee on Basic Education, for prioritizing this concern. With the passage of this bill, nakaasa tayo na mas marami ng batang Pilipino ang makapasok at makapag-aral sa mga susunod na taon. Again, maraming salamat kay Senator Bam Aquino sa pag-sponsor ng napakagandang bill na ito. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, to co-sponsor the measure is Senator Joel Villarosa. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Joel Villarosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. This will be short. I'd like to just put into the records, Mr. President, that we would like to commend and congratulate our chairperson, Senator Bam Aquino, to having sponsored this Classroom Building Acceleration Program Act. Through the years, Mr. President, si Senator Bam has remained steadfast in his cause and consistent in his advocacy for quality education. We have shared so many landmark legislations such as universal access to quality tertiary education, Philippine Qualifications Act, Framework Act, and others. And thus, as a fellow champion for quality education, as one of the co-authors of this measure, we fully support the passage of the CAP Act. Let me just point out, Mr. President, that indeed our learners are in dire need of stronger support and immediate assistance from the government, particularly in addressing the persistent shortage of classrooms in our public schools. I remember, Mr. President, when we were told that there's only about 1,700 classrooms na target for the year 2025, naliitan po tayo. Pero nung marinig natin kay Secretary Vince na 22 lamang yung silid-aralan, talagang mas lalo po tayong nanlumo. Kaya po, Mr. President, napakahalaga ng panukalang batas na ito. At umabot na rin po sa 148,000 ang backlog sa classroom construction sa buong bansa. Ito po ay malinaw, Ginoong Pangulo, na patunay na marami pa po tayong kailangang gawin upang tugunan ang kakulangan sa pasilidad ng ating mga paaralan. Sa pamamagitan po ng panukalang ito, ipinapakita natin ang ating pagtutok at pagmamalasakit sa kinabukasan ng ating kabataan. Umaasa po tayo na sa bisa ng CAP Act, tuluyan ng maiibsan ang backlog sa pagpapatayo ng mga silid-aralan at mapapabilis ang implementasyon ng mga proyektong pang-edukasyon sa buong bansa. Moreover, Mr. President, through this measure, we also aim to support the vision and pledge of the President, President Bongbong Marcos, to complete the construction of 40,000 classrooms before the end of his term. And we pray, Mr. President, na ang mga colleagues po natin ay masuportahan po ang immediate passage of this act to give every Filipino learner a safe, conducive, and dignified space to learn and grow. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, and may God bless us all.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure, Senator Pia Cayetano, I move that she be recognized.
Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to co-sponsor Senate Bill number 1482 under Committee Report number 6. This bill seeks to address the country's classroom shortage by authorizing eligible LGUs and the civil society organizations to implement classroom construction projects using government funds complementing existing DepEd infrastructure programs. The shortage of classrooms have been a perennial problem in our education system, and I have long advocated for the acceleration of classroom constructions. In 2022, as the Senior Vice Chair of the Committee on Finance, handling the budget of education, I presented data during our DBCC briefing on classroom shortage. The classroom shortage was then 127, can I wait for the slide to be shown? The classroom shortage was then 127,039. The budget needed to build these classrooms was 317 billion. The budget allotted in the NEP was only 5.92 billion. So from 317 needed, 5.92 billion. And with this budget, it would take us 60 years to fill the gap. My bold proposal then at the start of this administration was to consider closing the classroom gap by budgeting 52 billion per year. Sounds like a lot, right? But nowadays, we know that 52 billion can be produced pag kailangan pala. At mukhang mas madali kung may mali siya. Sorry, I had to say that as part of this speech because that's how people understand these numbers these days. So here we are, 3 years later. Just a few weeks ago, I also presented in the DBCC briefing hearing. According to the DepEd, the classroom shortage is now 165,000. So from 3 years ago na 127,000, ngayon 165,000 na. Kasi marami pa rin tayong mga anak, mga kababayan. Budget needed to fill the shortage is 412.50 billion. So nadagdagan na ng around 100 billion. And the budget in the NEP for 2026 is 13.25 billion. So with this year's budget and with a cost of 2.5 million per classroom, only 5,300 classrooms will be built. I will repeat. What is needed is 165,000 will be built based on this year's budget is 5,300 classrooms. With a similar budget, it will take more than 31 years to fill the gap. This shortage means that millions of Filipino students continue to study in congested, makeshift, or unsafe learning conditions that hinder learning outcomes. To repeat, and I just would like to emphasize this, in 2023, the budget for classrooms in the GAA was 15.60 billion. This is the General Appropriations Act. In 2024, it was 24.70 billion. And in 2025, it was 13.25 billion. So barely a sliver of what was needed. As chairperson of the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking, I foresaw the opportunity the pandemic presented and the shift to online classes. While our students were at home, I proposed that we take advantage of that period and push for school building, repairs, and rehabilitation. However, our studies revealed that there was low utilization of funds by the DPWH, many other problems including lack of preparation of the land, lack of buildable space in the most congested areas where the classrooms were most needed. These issues continued through the years. It was a missed opportunity, Mr. President, because that would have been the perfect time to address our classroom backlog, an effort that could have significantly reduced the numbers we are grappling with today. As Senior Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Finance that handles the budget of DepEd, that has handled the budget of DepEd for 6 years, our committee was able to assess how we could allocate more resources toward classroom construction. We pushed for the augmentation of the budget for classroom construction, repairs, and rehabilitations. In the NEP, we had allocations for budget repairs that were not fully funded, and we felt that these were very low-hanging fruits because it would take less to repair these classrooms. As mentioned earlier, we had consistently pointed out that with a limited budget under the Basic Education Facility Fund, it would take years for this gap to be addressed. Recognizing that many existing school buildings are already in disrepair, we also advocated for more rehabilitation and retrofitting. In several budget deliberations, we emphasized the need for climate-resilient school infrastructure, facilities that are safe, inclusive, and conducive to learning for all students. Closing the gap in the classroom shortage helps us achieve the following Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, SDG 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure, SDG 10, reduce inequalities, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. By accelerating the classroom construction, we are not only investing in building, we are investing in human capital and in the learning environment that nurtures the next generation. This program must not only fill present gaps, but it must also anticipate the future of learning. That means classrooms designed for blended learning, for energy efficiency, and for climate adaptation, especially in flood or typhoon-prone areas. We'd like to thank our chairperson, Senator Bam Aquino, for prioritizing this bill. Let us make the Classroom Building Acceleration Program not just a response to a backlog, but a vision for the future of Philippine education. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Next to co-sponsor is Senator Wing Gatchalian. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, let me congratulate and commend Senator Bam Aquino for coming up with this very novel but very timely concept. Nasabi ho ni Senator Pia na talagang napakalaki po ang backlog natin sa classrooms. 160,000 ang kailangan natin para mahabol lang yung backlog natin sa classrooms. And that will cost approximately about 400 billion pesos. So, kahit na mayroon tayong 400 billion pesos, Mr. President, hindi naman may implement kaagad because of absorptive capacity of the Department of Education. So, the CAP program will liberalize the implementation of classrooms in our country, allowing local governments to build classrooms all at the same time. Yun po yung maganda dito. Pwedeng sabay-sabay ho nako-construct ang mga local government units para sabay-sabay rin natatapos. They can also tap the private sector to build dahil nakita ho natin sa hearing na mas mura ang private sector pagko-construct ng mga classrooms, so we can tap CSO, and we can also come up with innovative modalities such as PPP para pumahabol natin yung 165,000 na backlog natin. So Mr. President, let me again thank and congratulate our chairman of the Basic Education Committee for coming up with this very timely concept. And a more extensive co-sponsorship speech will be submitted to the body to be inserted into the records, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measure is Senator Erwin Tulfo.
Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise today to express my full support as co-sponsor of Senate Bill number 1482 under Committee Report number 6, which seeks to establish the Classroom Building Acceleration Program or CAP under the Department of Education. Nung ako po ay bumoto noong nakarang eleksyon, isa sa mga hindi ko po makakalimutan ay ang kalunos-lunos na kalagayan po ng ating mga silid-aralan. Mainit, siksikan, at minsan pa ay kulang sa upuan. Sa ganitong kalagayan, mahirap asahan na matuto ng maayos ang ating mga kabataan, Mr. President. Sa panukalang ito, binibigyan kapangyarihan ng mga lokal na pamahalaan at mga civil society organizations na makibahagi sa pagpapatayo ng mga silid-aralan. Isang konkretong hakbang upang mapabilis ang pagpapatayo ng mga ligtas, maayos at komportableng lugar para sa ating mga mag-aaral. Naniniwala po ako, Mr. President, na sa tulong ng programang ito, mas mabilis na maihatid ang dekalidad ng edukasyon, hindi lamang po sa salita, kundi sa mismong pisikal na espasyo kung saan nagsisimula ang kanilang mga pangarap. I would also like to thank Senator Bam for championing this classroom building acceleration program. Thank you, Senator Bam. Thank you, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon sa lahat.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, as to co-sponsor the measure is this presentation. May I be recognized, Mr. President?
Yes, the acting Majority Leader is recognized. Senator J.B. Ersto.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, good afternoon. It is an honor to rise today to co-sponsor Senate Bill number 1482 under Committee Report number 6 or the Classroom Building Acceleration Program authored by the gentleman from Tarlac, Senator Bam Aquino. Batid po natin na sa kasalukuyan, isa sa pinamabigat na suliranin kinakaharap ng ating bansa sa sektor ng edukasyon ay ang malaking kakulangan sa silid-aralan ng ating mga pampublikong paaralan. This shortage directly affects the quality of learning and the dignity of our students and teachers alike. At napapanahon na po ang isang whole-of-nation approach upang tugunan at bigyan ng solusyon ang krisis na ito. Recognizing the magnitude of a classroom backlog, we acknowledge the necessity of forging stronger partnerships with the local government units and the private sector to expedite classroom construction nationwide. Through the implementation of the Classroom Building Acceleration Program, we aim to intensify, coordinate the efforts, and mobilize additional resources to ensure the timely delivery of adequate and quality learning spaces for all students. Pinasasalamatan natin si Senator Bam for championing the bill that seeks to address the glaring shortage of classrooms in the country. You have our full and unwavering support ensuring that this vital legislative measure is passed into law as soon as possible. Kaugnay nito, patuloy din po natin isinusulong ngayong 20th Congress ang Senate Bill number 2 o tinatawag na Master Plan for Infrastructure and National Development Act. Layunin na panukalang ito na magtakda ng isang pangmatagalang bisyon at strategiya para sa infrastruktura upang masiguro na mga pangunahing social structures kagaya ng mga silid-aralan at iba pang pasilidad pang-edukasyon ay bahagi ng isang maayos na master plan na itataguyod ng tuloy-tuloy tungo sa pag-unlad sa mga susunod na henerasyon. Mr. President, for every classroom that we build, we also build opportunities. We open doors for learning, growth, and hope. Providing access to education is one of the greatest equalizers of society. At kapag may maayos na mga silid-aralan, may pantay na pagkakataon ng bawat Pilipino na abutin ang kanilang pangarap at makapag-ambag sa pag-unlad ng ating bansa. Mr. President, sa pagpasa natin ng panukalang ito, sabay-sabay tayong nagtatanim ng pag-asa at isang mas maginhawang bukas para sa minamahal na Pilipinas. With the permission of the sponsor, this representation would like also to be co-author of the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senators Mark Villar and Jigo Estrada would like to insert to the records their co-sponsorship speech for Senate Bill number 1482.
So inserted into the records.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 1482.
You know, with the number of sponsors and co-authors of this measure, it might as well pass it today. But nevertheless, because we have to follow the rules, we will have to suspend consideration and approve it afterwards. Yes, Senator Makino is recognized. Before I act on the motion.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd just like to thank our colleagues sa napakarami pong sumusuporta. Maraming salamat po. Alam ko pong maraming sumusuporta, hindi ko po ina-expect na marami po mag-co-sponsor at co-author. Thank you so much to our dear colleagues, and I hope this can be one of the measures where we can work together for the Filipino youth and the Filipino people. Salamat po.
Well, I have good news for you. Senate Bill 1482, establishing the Classroom Building Acceleration Program, of which you are the principal author of and sponsor, is included in the LEDAC. So even the palace is backing up your bill. So the LEDAC priority list, it's included there. So congratulations. Anyway, any motion, any objection to the motion to suspend consideration? Hearing none, the consideration of the motion of the bill is suspended at this point.
Yes, Mr. President, our Senate President pro tempore would like to make a manifestation, or I would like to interpret the next once we resume
yes.
Consideration.
All right,
On this measure.
we will place that on record as soon as you schedule it. As soon as you schedule it for interpellation.
Mr. President, Senator Raffy Tulfo is seeking the floor for a manifestation. He will be making a report on his IPU mission, Mr. President.
Senator Raffy Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad to report back to the plenary my accomplishments in the recently concluded 151st IPU Assembly, which took place in Geneva, Switzerland on October 19 to 23. In attendance at the Assembly with me were Senator Erwin Tulfo as the head of the delegation and Senator Aimee Marcos, with the team upholding humanitarian norms and supporting humanitarian action in times of crises. I met with my counterpart delegates from Japan, Cambodia, and Myanmar and exchanged views on how we can further strengthen our government's friendship and cooperation. I also took this trip as an opportunity to meet and greet our kababayans working and living in Switzerland and France. Bilateral meetings in Japan. On the sidelines of the IPU Assembly, Senator Erwin and I met with Honorable Fuji Kazuhiro, who is a member of the House of Councilors of Japan. Bilang chairman ng Senate Committee on Migrant Workers, pinasalamatan po natin si Honorable Kazuhiro dahil sa magandang pagtrato ng Japanese employers sa 50,706 OFWs na nasa Japan, na malaki ang naitutulong sa ekonomiya ng Pilipinas sa pamagitan ng kanilang remittances. Isa sa mga napag-usapan po namin ang aging population ng Japan, at aking pong inirekomenda kay Honorable Kazuhiro ang posibilidad na magbukas na mas marami pang employment opportunities para sa Pilipino nurses and caregivers. Lalo na ang Pilipinas ay kilala bilang isang bansa na mapagkalinga at marunong malasakit sa mga nakakatanda. We also discussed Japan's public mass transit system, and Honorable Kazuhiro mentioned that Japan has manpower shortage in the transport sector. Iminungkahi ko na maaari silang kumuha ng Filipino transport workers upang makapagtrabaho sa Japan. We will recommend for DFA and DMW to conduct bilateral talks to their counterparts to address specific issues about these. At akin po itong tututukan, Mr. President. Bakit walang mga videos? Nasaan? Kanina pa wala. Cambodia. Nagipagpulong din po ako kina First Vice President Och Borit at T. Sokun ng National Assembly of Cambodia upang talakayin ang problema sa human trafficking ng mga Pilipino sa Cambodia. Mr. President, I encourage the government's cooperation to put an end to the prevalent Cambodia-based scam hubs which abuse Filipino workers. Ang mga Pilipinong biktima ay naakit sa mapanlinlang na social media post na nag-o-offer ng malaking sahod, pero pagdating sa Cambodia ay hindi naman sila nababayaran ng tama at ang iba sa kanila ay nato-torture. I'm glad to report, Mr. President, that President Borit gave his commitment in solving this international issue. Myanmar. I also met with the delegation of Myanmar to raise concern over the recent raid on a major online scam hub in Myanmar, where around 222 Filipinos are currently seeking rescue and repatriation. We talk about how Philippines stepped up to host a CN earlier than planned. After Myanmar, the regional host was unable to do so due to its ongoing civil war. Dahil sa patuloy na conflict at lumalalang humanitarian crisis, ipinahayag ko na ang kaligtasan at kapakanan ng mga OFWs sa Myanmar. Ang isa sa aking mga prioridad at sana sa tulong ng kooperasyon ng mga bansa sa ASEAN ay tuluyang mabawasan at mapigilan ang mga operasyon ng mga online scam hubs. Switzerland. Habang ako po ay nasa Geneva, nagipagkumustahan po ako sa ating mga kababayan na nagtrabaho at naninirahan doon. Mr. President, kasama si Sen. Erwin, we held a meet and greet with Filipinos at the Philippine Consulate General Office, all thanks to Ambassador Carlos Soreta. Bukod sa mga problemang idinulog sa ating mga kababayan doon, ipinadala ko rin sa kanila ang kahalagaan o ipinaalala ko rin sa kanilang kahalagaan ng isinusulong kong Senate Bill number 90 o OFW Financial Education Act na layong mabigyan ng sapat na kaalaman ng mga OFW sa pag-manage ng kanilang pera. Ito ay para rin masiguro na hindi sila malulubog sa utang at may maayos na buhay pagbalik sa Pilipinas pagkatapos mag-retire sa trabaho sa abroad. I can say, Mr. President, that Filipinos in Switzerland are in way better condition than Filipinos working in other countries. Kasi nga po, halimbawa sa Hong Kong, marami po sa mga kababayan natin ang nalulubog sa utang. In fact, tumataas po yung bilang ng suicide sa bansang Hong Kong sapagkat hindi po alam ng mga OFWs natin kung paano nila i-manage ang kanilang finances. Marami sa kanila ang utang ng utang or tili kaya ay ginagamit sila bilang magbabouch sa mga kakilala at ng pagdating ng oras ay yung kakilala nila na kanilang binouch sa utang ay hindi nagbabayad. Doon na po pumapasok yung sila nadidepress hanggang sa sila gumagawa ng hindi tama against doon sa kanilang sarili. Paris, personal ko rin kinumusta ating mga kababayan sa France. Kasama ko si Ambassador Eduardo Jose de Vega at Consul General Noemi Diaz. At bilang Chairman Senate Committee on Migrant Workers, binahagi ang aking panukalang batas gaya ng pagtatag ng Migrant Workers Relations Commission, isang special court sa loob ng DMW upang mapabilis ang pagresolba ng mga kaso ng ating mga OFW nang hindi na kailangan dumaan sa mahabang proseso o magsumbong pa sa aking programa. Pagtatag ng OFW Action Center sa bawat probinsya at malalaking lungsod upang lahat ng serbisyo mula pre-deployment hanggang reintegration ay nasa isang lugar na lamang. Pagpapalawak ng OFW Dependent Scholarship Program mula sa dating 5,000 slots ay gagawin nating 10,000 slots upang mas maraming anak ng mga OFW, hindi lamang sa koleyo, kundi pati na rin mula elementarya hanggang high school ang makinabang. Sa Open Forum ay natalakay ang kakulangan ng trabaho sa Pilipinas na siyang pangunahing dahilan kung bakit maraming kababayan natin ang napipilitang mangibang bansa. I shared that this problem is precisely what I'm pushing for, an across-the-board minimum wage for workers in Metro Manila and the provinces. With this, workers across the country will have the access to good job opportunities without the need to migrate elsewhere. That's all, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po.
Okay guys, bye.
Okay.
Tapos na siya.
Majority
Okay
Leader.
na yan. Bye.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar